right, welcome to week 10, you guys. We are at the very end of October. I can't even believe it. November's next week. This is going to be kind of a little bit of an open lab session to answer any Illustrator questions, but also there are a couple things that I want to go over, and I wanted to give anyone who needed or wanted some extra credit opportunities the chance to do that as well. We are in our second week of Illustrator, so our movie poster project should be underway. You guys all just posted your choices, and I'm super excited by all of the choices. And you are doing sketches this week, and just keeping moving on that, while at the same time learning some Illustrator skills. So it's kind of a lot of stuff, but you guys are all doing fantastic. And so I wanted to take this week to let anyone show off their color palette outfit who wanted to do it, because that's always kind of a fun little Zoom thing, a color party. And then if anyone wants to share their logo report from last week, those were amazing. You guys all had such great ones, and I was so interested in all of them. So I wanted to give you all the opportunity. If you want extra credit, throw your name up in the chat, and then we'll just let you share, like, here's what I researched, here's what I found out, whether you liked it or not. I always find logo branding redesigns super interesting, because there's something that you can see just driving down the street. You know, Taco Bell's got a new logo, Save Mart has a new logo, Round Table has a terrible new logo, and it's just kind of fun to see it and to just practice being aware of that kind of thing, because if you're going into design or anything in the creative field, it's really fun to realize that what we do does make an impact on the world around us. And also it's super universal and kind of a global thing. And I just love that about the creatives. So I want to give you a chance to do that. And then other than that, I just was going to let you guys, if you needed a demo of anything in Illustrator, if you had any questions, we can do that. I am going to give it until about 3:15, and then just take roll by my new thing, of which I wish I would have thought of like a year ago, of screen grabbing the participants list. And then if you do not need help, if you're done sharing, I'm going to give you guys a chance to just cut out early and get to work and get caught up on stuff. I know I sent out that email and Canvas message yesterday about if you guys need an appointment with me, a one-on-one appointment, if you need to discuss catching up on work, if you find yourself falling behind, always just reach out and we'll make a plan to help you to be able to pass the class, or a plan if you need to drop the class. Our deadline for dropping is Monday for our class. So we want to make sure that we've thought about that or talked, if it is an issue, before Monday, so that we can make sure that that's covered. So that said, why don't we go straight into, well, does anyone want to share their color palette, their favorite color palette? Did anyone dress up besides Christina? Damien, Morgan. Okay, let me see Damien, please. And turn your volume on so I can hear you too.
So yeah, I basically chose my favorite color palette, which is for this was to serve for my graduation from high school. So basically, you can't see it, but it said thanks for the free half best years of high school. So the design's basically like shades of like red and like basically tannish. So I really like the design. I thought they did a pretty good job with it to match our school logo and everything.
Very cool. Very cool. Stand up so we can see the shirt. We can't see it.
Here,
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. Best 3.5 years of your life. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Christina, you want to share your color palette?
Yeah, I went with analogous blue, pink, and purple. So I stole my sister's clothes because my clothes, I couldn't find a color palette in any of them. So I have her purple leggings on,
Nice.
Pink dress, blue shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and then pink choker and pink sloth plush he also
Very.
dared me to bring. So
Yep, and I can totally see it. Anyone else? Morgan?
So I like did some Halloween nails. I know I'm not a nail artist, so don't come after me. But I got orange, purple, and green for a triad.
Very cool. And Riley?
I kind of went with more of a blue and purple theme.
Nice.
I picked this shirt because this is like my favorite shade of blue. And then I got some, Superman purples and pinks going on here. So,
Nice.
yep, and I
What
got
did you guys think about that Adobe Color website? It's pretty cool, right? Yeah. And let me tell you how handy that is. When you're starting a new project and you're trying to figure out a color palette, to be able to save it to your library and then have that library there when you open up Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign to then just start designing, it's amazing. It's so nice. Back, 10 years ago, it was books, and I had a book of CMYK color palettes, and then you have to key in the codes to match what you're seeing in the book, and it was tedious, and you can't get everything on one page because it's a book, and you might find something on page 1 and something on page 50. So then to do any sort of presenting it to a client or sharing it or trying it out was such a hassle. So I'm a big fan, and wanted to make sure you guys had the experience of checking out that website and making sure you bookmarked it. So anyone else want to share their color palette before we move on to extra credit opportunities? We're good? All right. So in my chat, I've got Ileana, Morgan, Christina, Riley, Lauren, and Damien. You guys all are good to share your logo report? Sweet.
Yeah.
Ileana, I have you as the first one. So if you want to share your screen, or if you want me to open up and share my screen, the report you did, I can do that as well.
I'm on my phone, so go ahead and do it on your end.
Yes.
Am I just do you want me to just read it or just
You
what?
can just talk about it really casually. Why you chose the logo you chose, what you see in the change. Let me find the rebrand report. What you see in the change that maybe works or doesn't work, in your opinion. This is all subjective. And then also just your overall thumbs up or thumbs down on that. Let me see here. What I'm going to do, I think, is, let me see if it opens real easily, and then I can just share that with you guys so you don't have to see everything. Okay, perfect. Back to Zoom, share my screen, Word. Okay, can you guys all see the report on my screen? Okay, Ileana, take it away.
Okay, so my report was on the siren. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Mine was on the siren for Starbucks, because I had always wondered why the siren and what she was exactly. She was basically based on a wood carving from the 1600 Norse wood carving of a two-tailed siren. And she became a lot more simple over the years. I noticed that a lot of brands started out with really intricate and complicated looking little logo designs, and they got more simple as the years went on. And Starbucks had a very fond interest in Moby Dick, and they named Starbucks after, I guess, the first crewmate, Starbuck, from Moby Dick. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the one in 1987, so the third one, the one in the middle, the picture, they called that the donut design because she was in like a little ring. But they thought it was too much, so they made it a lot simpler. And there are pictures online that I couldn't exactly find not fuzzy pictures of, but they would make slight changes, like make the eyes more straight and symmetrical, or make her slightly smile a bit more, or little subtle things like that. And I just thought that was really interesting. And I think that it looks better in the more simple way. So I thought they had a pretty interesting design process.
Very cool. Does anyone have questions or comments?
Do you know how the green got introduced?
I didn't, I tried looking for that because I was curious about the green too, but they didn't explain that at all. Like I couldn't find anything about the green or the color scheme at all. It's just like a random decision I guess they made. But yeah, I was curious about that too and couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, I like the brown, kind of, but it may just be, I don't know. I can see why they would want to change it, especially with more use online and how hard it is to see all the detail in the older woodcut stuff compared to in print. But yeah, they're definitely green now, huh? It's a very cool like trajectory. Very
I
cool.
think I would have liked it more if they had kept the brown with this simple design.
Yeah, it would look cool, I think, too.
Yeah, because that reminds me of coffee.
Right? Yeah, me too. Well done, Ileana. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this is one of my favorite projects. It's funny because I like logos, but I don't like to design logos. It is very difficult to design a logo because you're basically trying to read somebody's mind and come up with something that that they don't even have completely formulated in their head. So it's a real guessing game and it's real tricky. And I think it's so interesting to see, like, over the years, like Starbucks, that's almost 50 years from the beginning to now. So it's interesting to see the change and not only to go with time and trends and everything, but just to have it be more functional and practical. And I like that logos can change because boy, they're hard. Boy, they're hard to settle on. Okay, so next would be Morgan. Thank you, Ileana. Do you want to share your screen, Morgan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the logos that I chose, which is the WNBA logo. The older one is on the left and the new one is on the right. Some things that I like about the new logo that I think are an improvement from the old one is I like the way that the athlete, she goes from being just like defined by the background to being an independent element of the design. I really like that. I also really like the new font. The old one is kind of playful. It looks like maybe like a little bit youthful almost. And maybe like girly, I don't know, but I think the new one is very like clean, powerful, effective. I think that's very cool. And I also think the new outline of the athlete looks more, I guess, powerful than the other one. The other one, she seems to be kind of like, oh, casual little layup, and this one is much more like intense. And I think that, obviously these athletes are very serious, and I think the new logo takes them more seriously as athletes, and I really like that.
Agreed. Anyone have comments or questions for Morgan?
I like how the new logo, how the person, the woman, she kind of curves around the text in the new one.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, and the WNBA is so much bigger than it was in the old one. It was super tiny and like little, almost like an afterthought at the bottom of the logo before. So yeah, it's much improved, I think. So do you know if they had like a wide version and a tall version, or like more, did they have different?
I think usually when it's done tall, this one just got implemented this year, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's usually like the athlete on top and then the print under the bottom, like centered over the text. But I don't know that I've actually seen that.
Yeah, I like the figure too. Well, the font and the figure from the original logo both just look dated. They look kind of like old fashioned or like 70s. So the new one is definitely much improved. And while she's like dunking, there is still something like that I think is a little bit feminine in the curves, and which I think is cool. And it's like they're not taking away from the fact that it's WNBA and trying to make them just look like, you know, the guys with long hair, which is stupid. So
yeah, it definitely has the femininity and the power together, and I think I really like it.
Yeah, me too. Great. Well, great job. Thank you. Christina, I have you next on my list.
Awesome. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna share screen. There we go. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my internet's being a little funky. So I chose to do Animal Planet because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate their new redesign. Like, it makes me really salty because the Animal Planet picture was like something I remember from my childhood. It's very fun and whimsical. All the letters are different shapes. You can see where your eye's supposed to go throughout it, and it's all like, it just feels very natural. And the new one feels so forced almost. Like, it's very minimalistic and like they're trying to modernize it. But in doing that, I feel like they kind of lost what their goal was, which was to make it more family oriented and more like connected to nature, because now it just looks like any other logo out there. And so, yeah.
Comments or questions for Christina?
I completely agree. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you can go first, Morgan. It's fine.
Okay. I was going to say, I completely agree with you. I think the new one looks like a corporate logo. Does that make sense? It has no personality, and
exactly.
The Animal Planet's supposed to be fun, you know, so I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember the before one, you know, from watching it, but I think that the new logo, I don't know where they got the blue. You know, the blue is kind of weird. I feel like if they went with more of an earthy, natural tone, it would appear more, you know, it would give more of that Animal Planet feeling.
Yeah, I agree. We haven't. I don't remember if I had you guys read the color psychology article yet, or if that's still to come. But blue is a corporate color. Green is usually organic and you know, anything earthy, natural, nurseries, plant related. While blue is corporate, it's often technology. It's like a kind of a power move that doesn't really make sense to me either. And I mean this like in a I don't know if you guys have seen that commercial or have heard of Fiverr, where it's like people can like get logos made super cheap, and it's usually by somebody outside of the country that's just like cranking out logos. And I've had at least 3 clients who started the job on Fiverr and then brought it to me to like make it, you know, like personal to them. Like the work that they got was very generic and just real basic. And that's what this logo reminds me of. It reminds me of like a Fiverr logo that nobody like really cared, and they just kind of threw it together, and it's a bummer because I know the old logo too, and while it has some issues, like the eye drives me crazy, and like I don't like that all the different widths of the letters. Like I feel like there needs to just be like at least only 2 instead of 4 or 5 different widths of letters. But overall, like there was a lot of things I liked about that logo. And it was so just what's the word? It's like iconic, you know, everybody knew what it was. So anyways, great job, Christina. Thank you. Somebody else did Animal Planet too. I can't remember who it was. Lauren. Well, you know what, Lauren? I want to hear what you have to say. So we're going to skip Riley and go to Lauren after Damien's question, because since you did the same one, I want to hear your take on it as well. But first, Damien, question.
I have why they chose the elephant of all animals? Of all the animals they could chose lion,
right?
Eagle, something that represent like Animal Planet. They chose the elephant running like an idiot, like.
And again, as much as I like elephants,
it's because of their first like original logo had an elephant on a planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let Lauren go before I say too much stuff. Riley, we'll get back to you in a second for your presentation. But Lauren, why don't you present, since you did Animal Planet, so we can hear any additional info.
Well, the logo change happened in like 2018 apparently, and I had no idea it even happened because originally I was gonna do Disney Channel,
Hmm.
but then on the assignment thing, it said that it needed to be like a recent change, and that was like 10 years ago, I guess.
Hmm.
So I looked around for a different one. So I found this, which like they had like the cool, like the funky, like Monsters Inc. style, like font, which
Hmm.
I loved. And then they turned it to like such a crappy, like off-brand PETA logo with like the jumping elephant, and it makes no sense because
Doesn't.
elephants don't jump.
Yeah, no.
Like it's such a fail.
Yeah. And as much as I love elephants, I feel like it's such a cheat because
Yeah,
everybody loves elephants and they're kind of trendy and they're kind of just like,
yeah.
like,
I
oh,
mean, I understand that it's supposed to be like to pay homage to like their first logo before like the iconic one,
uh,
but to try and make it leap and curve, it just doesn't work.
yeah. And it feels like, it just feels kind of lazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can find the
And
original,
then they just slap the font at the bottom. It's like, yeah, it's good. And I'm like, no.
right?
I don't
Oh,
know what
yeah. That one with the world.
Yeah.
Uh, let me, um, let me share my screen really quick so you can see that one. You guys see it? Oops. Do you see it now? Which I don't know what I shared. Let me see. I might have shared the wrong thing. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, there.
Yeah.
That one. But even, I mean, look at those three next to each other. I still like the type solution one the best. Ugh.
I feel like it fits like what they're trying to like. They want to like get kids into like nature and stuff, so they want it to be fun.
Yeah, boy, it's sad. It's too bad. Oh well, I think we're unanimous in our dislike of that rebrand. Anyone have any other comments before we go to Riley?
I feel like it would be cool if they did like kind of like an earth and it's kind of slashed into like different like tundra, like the tundra, the desert, and just kind of like that's an overall representation
Right?
of Animal Planet.
Yeah.
So there's
Elephants,
so many things you could do.
elephants are only on 2 continents, and it's supposed to be Animal Planet. All right, Riley. Do you want to share your report?
Yeah, I'll share your screen. All right, can you see this?
It's loading. There you go.
Okay. So I decided to do the logo on Uber. Didn't really know anything about Uber because I was high school. I didn't really care about all that stuff. So it's like this is something that's I mean I know about it obviously, but I don't really know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see cars, with the little sticker on it. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And so I'm like, I'll look into it. And so I decided to do this on Uber. There's actually two designs. You got their little circle sticker design that you can put on the car, and you have this one. I just decided to focus on one.
Cool.
So up here is the original logo. It was originally actually called Uber Cab when they first started in 2009, 2010. They've actually gone through a lot of different design changes over the years. And so I actually have two original logo designs up here because I was looking at a couple websites and stuff, and I'm not sure which one it actually is. I think it's the first one, Uber Cab. It makes more sense. Eventually, over time, they dropped the cab part, so it just became Uber. And interesting thing about this little design, the 2009 to 2011, is that this red U, it actually represents the relationship between Uber and being on the road, taking you places. So it kind of represents like the highway saying, so it's a semi-ring highway. So it kind of you start one end and you end at the other, and Uber is a part of that.
Ah, very cool.
And so eventually 2011, 2006, they dropped that little icon and it just became this little symbol. It kind of reminds me of like a car manufacturing place like Toyota or something like that. And they changed it again in 2016 to a bolder, different bolder font. And then finally, in 2018, they changed it one last time, and it's this different one. It's no longer all uppercase. They still have this bold black font, but it's all lowercase now. But this U is pretty big, but the others are small. So I think that, I mean, it's following that trend of making everything simpler, more modern, I guess. I think that it's going in the right direction. I think it would be interesting to see like a little artistic something added to it. But overall, I think that they've been doing a pretty good job.
I'm surprised they went as long as they did with the red in their logo, considering that it's a transportation related company. So I can see why they got rid of that fairly quickly. And then I get why they went upper lowercase too, just to make it softer and more personable, more approachable than the all uppercase seems like a little more severe. And they want to be more friendly. So they probably went with that upper lowercase, kind of almost like a schoolhouse font, real simple. Anyone else? Comments?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was looking at the red and I was like, why would they pick that? It's unapproachable. It's like reminiscent of stop signs and everything. I'm like, that's not good. So I'm glad they got rid of that.
Yeah, and they were probably kind of like, yeah, you start and finish with Uber, kind of like, or we stop for you. Like at some point, they probably made that conscious decision to make it red. I mean, with branding, every single thing should be a conscious decision because there is so much psychology to what you're seeing, and that's the mark that represents, your whole company or your business. So it's pretty interesting. And I'm glad there was such a nice variety of logos brought to the table with this report, guys. So I was really happy to see that. I'm working on a transportation related postcard, or like a series of postcards right now for I don't know how you really say it. I always call it Kniezels. Have you guys seen it? Like there's one in Rockland. I think the main one's in Rockland. It's a collision center for like a body shop for when you get in a wreck. It's probably Kniezels, but for years I've always called it Kniezels because it's spelled with a K. And they have a new shop and it's in Auburn, and they had a picture of a bridge, and then they had a picture of some cars, and then they decided to change it to a picture of the Auburn courthouse because apparently it is a historic building that a lot of people from Auburn recognize. And I told them, I was like, is that really, like, doesn't that kind of have negative connotations? It's a courthouse and we're talking about collision repair and people getting in accidents. And I don't think that's a good idea for a marketing postcard. But they didn't listen to me. And so now there is a courthouse on the front of like 3 different versions of this postcard that's going out to residents of the city of Auburn. So whatever, but those are the kind of things you kind of have to think about and weigh and consider, when you're designing. Everything can be taken a certain way. And not only do you have to be careful and meet the mood of just the general social climate, but you also need to like pay attention to what you're selling and what kind of what the feel is that you're going for. So great job with these. I'm really, really happy with everything you guys did. I think last up is Damien, right? And then we will just take questions and anything you guys want me to demo for Illustrator, I can do. So think about that while Damien does his our last share.
How do I present?
Say that again?
How do I present this again? Sorry.
Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to share my screen with your report?
My screen. So can you share your screen? I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, sorry, you're a little bit, I don't know, you're like in slow-mo. Like your connection is lagging.
Yeah, sorry. My room's Wi-Fi isn't the best.
All right,
so
let me yours.
Basically, can can you put on your screen, please? Because
Yes.
I don't know how to share.
Yeah, give me 1 second and I'll pull it up.
All right.
Okay. Oh yeah, Nintendo. Excellent choice. Share the screen, Word, share.
All right,
Okay.
so
There
I
we go.
chose this brand for reasons because like a lot of people may complain, oh, like it's not much of a difference, it's just red now, but there's actually history behind this because during 2016, console brands like PlayStation and Xbox were being more distinct. They wanted to like show they're different from one another, so they went too far. They went as far as like, okay, PlayStation represents blue, Xbox has green, so Nintendo's like, okay, we're launching our new console, Nintendo Switch. We need to make sure we're distinct from one another, and we need somewhat like attraction. So they decided to make it red because they realized, oh crap, or oh, we have Mario, one of the most famous video game icons. We can use that red to like make the customer go, oh, Nintendo made Mario, so I go over there to get Mario games. Also, like the red's very distinct, and like you said, it means stop. So you're like, oh, that looks very like interesting to look at, and I like to see what this company offers and everything.
Yeah, and they do have a fairly consistent history with their logo. They have special logos for like special edition machines, like, you know, the Switch or the Wii. Nintendo 64 had like a little bit of a different kind of logo going on. That was probably the most different, but they really stuck to it through the years with their that typeface. That's got to be like a custom typeface that's just
yeah, absolutely. Because I never seen that typeface before, so I'm like, oh, that's very distinct and can make you go, oh, I want to look at that. It looks appealing, unique.
Yeah, very cool. Anyone questions or comments for Damien?
That logo is so nostalgic because, like, it's on my Super Nintendo to my like DS that I had when I was a kid, and now it's like still on all their stuff. And like, I'm glad they haven't changed it because it's just so iconic at this point. If they did, I'd be like, no.
No, I like it too. And they've used it even with other, like it'll be Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and it'll, you know, be a little bit different. The Super Nintendo has its own kind of block, but they still use that little Nintendo mark as like the overall. Yeah, it's cool. I want to put it on everything. I want to put stickers of it on everything.
Probably put a sticker on my computer.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Thank you very much, Damien. Oh, let me, before I forget, Mark, that's credit for you. And then do you guys have anything that you need me to or would like me to demo or show you for Illustrator before I just cut you loose to work on the rest of the week's content?
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
Sadly, at the very freaking beginning of the first assignment, I was having trouble figuring out how to, because you wanted a specific grid size. I was having trouble figuring out how to specify the preferences for that, and I couldn't really find a tutorial on Adobe for it.
So that was the swatches.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Project. Okay, so let me open that up. Oops. Stop. This is the main emphasis as far as learning goes for that project is so that you get experience with adding swatches and working with the swatches panel. But for sure, you also get the added bonus of, let me open up mine, the added bonus of using the align and creating a shape and having that shape be a certain size. So was it aligning and then having this shape kind of be a certain size that was throwing you guys, right? So let me share my screen.
Like it would press the show grid, but it just made like a giant square, and I couldn't really figure out how to change the preferences to that.
Gotcha. Okay, so, and what I meant more was that not to use the grid function, but just to create a set of squares, 3 squares across by 5 squares tall, each square being a 1-inch square. And I meant that you would create your own grid, and I apologize for that. I didn't mean to use the Illustrator grid. You would just, let me just add a artboard so I can show you guys for fresh. Can you all see my Illustrator screen right now? Okay. So basically you have a blank 8.5 by 11 artboard, and you select the rectangle tool. If anyone can figure out why the key command for the rectangle tool is M, and let us know next week, I'd love that. It's a mystery. But the shape tool key command is M. And then there are several ways to create a square. You can hold down Shift while you click and drag. And if you have smart guides turned on like I do, it actually is telling me when I get to 1 inch by 1 inch. The other thing to do would be to just draw a shape willy-nilly and then use your properties panel to change that shape, the dimensions of that shape, to a 1 inch by 1 inch square. So basically, once you have one square, it's really easy to just click, and then like he did in the dojo last week's instructions, to just copy and paste your squares. You can just click and hold down Option and drag. If you hold down Option and drag to the right or to the left, it will keep it on the same plane. And then that gives you a real easy way to just create your first row. So now we've got 3 1-inch squares. You can see that they're slightly misaligned. There's more space between these two than there is between these two. With smart guides, it's going to give me like an assist on lining them up or aligning them and spacing them out perfectly. You guys can see those pink arrows that pop up when I get close enough so that it has the same amount of space. And if I just let go, now they're spaced out the way I want them to. If they're not and they're all messed up, if I just select them all and then use my align panel, I can align them all on their midpoint by just clicking the align center, horizontal center, and then I can distribute them, space them out evenly by using the horizontal distribute, and it gives me the same effect. These also come up in my control bar at the top for ease of use. And once you've got your first row, all you have to do is just select all of them and then Option click and drag them down. Look for those smart guides until you have your grid. And I apologize again that was unclear, that I just meant you were creating your own kind of grid of 3 by 5. And then you go in, and it doesn't, I have these ones on my original spaced closer together. It really doesn't matter. I just want to see them in a nice kind of squared up, aligned, evenly distributed set. And then you can go in and do the color portion of the assignment. Another thing you can do is just, if you just click and hold and drag down to select all of them. I'm obsessed with having everything be on the center of my artboard. So you can key in and have them centered just by making sure that your reference point's in the middle and then having it centered to the middle of your artboard. Does that help, Riley and Ileana, kind of explain that?
Yeah, I was just like really confused at first about it, but it makes a lot more sense now that you specify that it was just supposed to be like.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. So this is the default grid that she was talking about, which is it's a tool, a visual tool. It doesn't actually show up when you save this or export it or print it, but it's a visual tool that's a grid. And the way that you can make changes to that is under the Illustrator menu at the top, and then guides and grid. And you can actually like do all kinds of custom stuff to that grid if it's something that you want to use on a regular basis. So that's where those preferences are hiding. Ileana, if you did want to use a grid, I mean, it is kind of nice. if you're working in something that you want, that this is helpful for you. But if you don't need it, you obviously don't have to have it on. And that was not the grid I was referring to, so I apologize.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there any other questions, Illustrator questions for this week? Christina.
Okay, so the more I work with this, the more questions I have. But my biggest is like, how do you combine and then cut shapes? So like if I wanted to make like a crescent moon shape, how would I do that?
I will, let me show you that. And then Michelle, I just saw your request to share your logo report. So let me take Christina and Lauren's questions, and then we will circle back to that. And then that's probably all we'll have time for today.
Okay.
I love Illustrator, and if you guys don't stop me and watch the clock on me, I will just keep talking about Illustrator until it's like dark out and we will have missed everything. Okay, so I'm gonna just use this artboard again. So a crescent moon specifically, you would probably want to start with a circle, obviously. That's the ellipse tool. And you can draw a circle, a perfect circle, by holding down Shift, and it will just draw it in any way that you're dragging it. If you hold down Option Shift, it will draw it from the middle, just kind of point of reference. And then this is going to be a big one for you guys, and these are kind of some skills that you would like for your illustrating in your movie poster possibly. But the Pathfinder panel, this is a fantastic little panel to get to know, because there are all kinds of things that you can do to your shapes using this panel. A lot of these options also show up on the properties panel once you have a couple of shapes selected, but they're organized all in one spot in the Pathfinder panel. So that's the one I usually jump to first. For a crescent moon, you would just option click and grab another circle and overlay them. Just to make it easier to see, you could color the top circle a different color so that you can kind of see the crescent shape you're creating with on that back circle. And then all you have to do is use your Pathfinder tool to minus the front from the back. And there's actually a few different options you could do. If we minus the front, it's just going to disappear that shape, and it's going to take a bite out of the original circle. If you do the divide, it's going to divide our shapes by where they were overlapped. So you now actually have several shapes created from those two original shapes. You can just trim it, which is going to leave your top shape, but it's trimmed it out of the back shape to create a crescent. There's a bunch of things, and I suggest just kind of playing with the Pathfinder panel and just seeing the different things that it can do to your shapes, because this is a super useful tool, and it's something that you will likely use over and over. One of the most common would be to, let's see if I'm gonna just put another, actually, let me just align these two shapes right on top of each other, and then make my top shape with my properties panel just a little bit smaller. And then you can actually create, actually, I'm going to go even a little bit smaller. I want to create a fat donut shape. You can cut out the top from the bottom and end up just with a real cool donut shape with a hollow center. So anything that's behind this shape, you're going to be able to see it. So the Pathfinder panel, Christina, play with it. You know, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, and all kinds of shortcuts to making shapes. You know, instead of trying to draw a crescent moon with your pen tool and it coming out slightly wobbly and uneven, always look at your shapes and consider what shapes was this made out of, and go about, you know, using these shapes where you can draw a perfect circle or a perfect square and use that to make the shape that you're going for.
I just wanted to add as well,
yeah, Bryce,
if I could. Hi, that An alternative to the Pathfinder tool is the Shape Builder tool. I like to use that one a lot because it gives you a preview of like the shape that you're about to create. So you can look for that tool. I don't really know how to describe. I
Hold
don't
on.
know what the key is.
I'll bring it
Maybe you
back
could just
up.
show it.
Yeah. Okay, so the shape builder tool. Let's see here. It's one of these. Here it is. So shape builder tool. But don't you have to have?
You have to select both of them.
Yeah. Let me just draw them again. Okay, so shape builder tool is Shift M, and then, oops, Illustrator's getting angry with me. You can, yeah, so see how, can you see, and I don't know if my colors are bad colors for this, but can you see how it's kind of shading as I hover over with the shape builder tool? It's, and if I just click, whoops.
All you have to do is click once. You can also hold Shift, or is it Control or Shift? If you hold one of them, it removes the shape instead of making it.
It's Command, or no.
Yeah.
Whoop, yeah. It's a tricky one to get used to, but it's super cool too. It's kind of a shortcut. Yeah.
So you don't even need to draw on it. You just click once.
It wasn't,
That's what I do.
Yeah, there we go. It wasn't, my Illustrator is lagging because I've been using it all day long. I probably should have restarted it before to get a fresh RAM. Yeah, so it's option to minus part of it. And then if you wanted to join them together, it is you just click it looks like, and then Command is to move it. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's always fun. All of the things they do is fun. So one thing though, do you notice, does it make real smooth cuts when it does it?
It depends.
Yeah. So it might be one worth playing with for sure. I do like how it gives you a preview, and it kind of, as you hover over it, it shows what's going on. Let me select some more. I just want to keep playing in Illustrator all day long. It's so fun. But yeah, it's basically showing what it would look like if you divided them using the Pathfinder. These are all just kind of dividing or joining. But yeah, very cool. Thank you, Bryson.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so Michelle, let's loop back to logos really quick. Michelle, if you want to share your report, and then we're going to go ahead and end our meeting. I am available tomorrow at 5 if anyone has additional questions or needs help. Lauren, did you have a question? What'd you have? Oh yeah, I forgot we were going to do that.
No, it's okay. I was wondering, like, if you could show or like explain like how you can make textures in Illustrator, because like I know how to in Photoshop, but Illustrator is like,
so Illustrator is
scary territory for me.
It is scary for making textures, and for the most part, what I do is there are brushes that are stock in Illustrator that can create textures. There's also brushes that you can get as third-party brushes and load them into Illustrator, same as Photoshop, to create textures. What I mostly do is use Adobe Stock or another stock website to find a pre-existing vector texture that I can use for create, and there are thousands of them out there, and I ended up with just like, I have a library of textures now, whether it's grunge or organic or whatever it is that I can use when I want to add some depth and some extra to my vector art. So I would go one of those two routes. Adobe Stock has a bunch of them, and just kind of look, because it's a lot to create one. The other thing that you could do, which is a cool little way to do it, would be to create it in Photoshop, save it as a high-res, just black and white image, and then place it into your Illustrator file. And you can use, let me share my screen again. You can use Illustrator, share. I don't have something that I can use right now, but if you brought that file in, you can live trace it. And it will create vector from your pixel based Photoshop texture. And it'll do a pretty good job. And you can play around with the settings of that image trace too, to get it to be less or more of what you have, what you've brought in until it's closed. But I would play with that if you wanted to create your own texture. So those are kind of the three ways. Use the brushes, or any of the effects kind of in the Illustrator menu. Effects or brushes both have some texture options, or stock texture, or create something in Photoshop, black and white, because the image trace is going to pick up everything the best if it's just a black and white image that you bring in relatively high res, and try image tracing it and see if you can end up with a vector texture of your own. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, Michelle, take it away, and then we'll call it a week. Great work, you guys, overall. Fantastic.
Thank you. Will you can you share my report for me?
I sure
Thank you.
Let's see here. Michelle. Oh yeah, this is another good one. Okay, you guys see it?
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, yeah. So I did Slack. I actually did Slack because my firm uses it as our communication application. So we use this, and I remember when they did the update, I think it was earlier this year, I had noticed it on my little app icon first.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually like rolled out a whole like page on why they changed it and why they updated it. And I thought that was really interesting to keep people like informed and not just curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the new design. I think it's way more versatile, I guess. Their original one, like with it crooked, and I don't know, you just can't do as much with it, and you can't put it like on any background because the colors were, you know, a little bit see-through, transparent. So I like the new one. You can put it wherever you want, any color background, and it's way more recognizable as Slack, not just like a hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought this was a really good rebrand. I think it made it more simplistic and more versatile, and yeah, this was a good one.
What is Slack? What is
It's
that?
like a messenger program for like a professional setting, I guess. You have group messages or personal, and it's really taking off now that we're all remote.
Right.
And so I think the update was really good and familiar for people to use now.
Yeah, that is smart then, to move away from the hashtag, since that tends to be more social related rather than professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other comments or questions for Michelle?
I feel like it kind of looks more like the Google logo now. Like just a little bit more, like reminds me of it with the colors and everything.
Yeah, the colors.
Which is not a bad thing. And I'm sure that's something that they took into consideration, who they want to be associated with, who they want to be, you know, kind of who come to mind, and who's like, they want to be their peer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure it was purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
I also like how they made the text more bold, a lot stronger of a color that stands out more.
Agreed.
Yeah, me too.
I find it kind of interesting. This is not really quite design related, but it is related to the product, that both similar applications of Discord and Slack, the names of them have kind of negative connotations,
right?
Like slacking off, and like Discord is like chaos.
Right.
And they're both about group chats, which is very interesting.
I think
Yeah.
that was very interesting. Yeah, Slack is not something that I would think would be a professional application at all, but
I know, totally, because
yeah.
it's like slacking off. But I
Yeah.
guess
Like if
that's
you
the
have to
point.
pick up the slack when you
Yeah.
open the app.
I was thinking like slacks, like pants.
Oh,
I don't know why.
who knows?
Sounds like it's office clothes.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Well, nice job, Michelle. Thank you. I'm glad we had time
Thank you.
for all of you guys to share and to ask questions. Riley, if you want me to stick around, I'll go ahead and like end it unless you guys want me to continue to answer questions. I still have time to hang out. But if you need to go, you're free to go. Riley, I'll take your question now if you like. And I kind of find that anytime there's a question, it kind of benefits the group. If you are free, feel free to stay.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I'm still doing those group session things for tutoring on Thursdays from 1 to 3. So if you need some extra help, I'm totally available for that. So just so you know, I know Illustrator really well too. So.
Yep, it's a good one. Riley, what was your question?
Okay, so Maya was having those problems with like the grid earlier too, but so I was just trying to make a square, and so I did the square to the 1 inch, and it just kind of blew up the square, and like the little blue lines that you would edit it are in the center.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know if I should show you.
Yeah, why don't you show me?
That'd be
cool.
Okay. It's like I don't know what it's doing now.
Are you trying to adjust the grid that's like your guides, that grid, or just your square that you created? Okay, so yours is grouping it for some reason. We'll just double click off of your, just in the artboard, off of an object. There, now it goes away. Okay, now click on one of the squares. Just click once to select it.
Yeah.
Okay, so your square is, if you look on your tool panel, it shows that your fill is nothing and your stroke is black. Try flipping those by hitting that little curved arrow in the top right of the fill and stroke in the tool panel.
This way.
All the way over in your tool panel to the left.
Okay.
So that's your tool panel, and the bottom of it, it shows your fill and your stroke color. And right now your stroke color all the way at the bottom, right? Yeah. So see that little arrow thing right?
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, click on that to swap them.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There we go.
And then okay, so here's the other thing that's going on. Your unit of measurement is set to points rather than inches. So turn your ruler on, which is Command R or Control R. I forget if you're on a PC or a Mac. Okay, and then Option click in that left corner, right where your cursor is of the rulers. The left corner of the ruler Option click there. Is it Option click? Let me look on mine really quick. Oh no, it's Control click, Control click, and then you should be able to change to inches. No, in the top, in that little, yep, right there. Can you Control click? Are you on a PC?
Yeah.
Wonder what the equivalent is, because I know Command is Control, but then what is Control? Like for a Mac, I click Control. Can you right click in that corner?
Try Alt click.
Thank you, Kenneth. Alt click.
Also, what's with the zoom there? 3,543.
It's because she's in points, and we got to change it. She's working. Her artboard is only 8.5 points by 11 points. So she has to zoom way in to see. A point is equal to a pixel. So your whole artboard is only 8.5 pixels. We got to switch you over to inches. So try right clicking on that upper, okay. So now go to inches. And let's change your unit of measurement. So now you can see in inches, you're less than 1/8 of an inch wide, which is why everything looks crazy.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is change the size of your artboard by clicking on the artboard tool in your tool panel or your toolbar, just towards the bottom on the left. And it looks like a little page with a crosshair. It's right above the hands, the hand tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And then in your control bar, that's going to give you the option to change the size of your artboard. Right now, your width is 0.1181 by 0.1528. And you want to change your width to 8.5 and your height to 11, because that's going to be the size of a standard letter size piece of paper. Okay, so now do Control 0 so you can see your whole artboard. Or fit on screen. Yeah, it's the very bottom one. Okay, now you see how we can't even see your squares because they're so tiny because they're only a pixel by a pixel. So if you can select one and then use your properties panel to change them to 1 inch by 1 inch. Oh, you got to change to your select tool. I'm sorry. Your black arrow. Yeah.
Right.
And then just click on one and then, yeah, 1 by 1. And then you should be able to see your yeah, and then just switch it so it's not a stroke and it's a fill, or I guess it can still be a stroke and you're going to fill it with whatever color you choose when you get to that part of the yeah, but that's what was happening. So your unit of measurement was stuck on point instead of on inches.
You know what happened is I made another one earlier and I made sure it was on inches, so I had to go and make a new artboard for some reason.
Right.
And then I forgot to switch it.
No problem. That was an easy fix. So,
yeah, I had no idea what was going on. I'm like,
Yeah, there's always little things. You just kind of got to look for clues as to what's going on with your in your like in your rulers and in your properties panel. You can sometimes kind of figure out exactly what's going on. So thank you. And then let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right, so hopefully that helps. Does anyone else need me for anything?
Can you use the artboard tool to change the color of your artboard? So like for the posters?
So what you want to do in that case is not change the color of your artboard, but create a shape, a rectangle that is the whole size.
Okay, that's what I've been doing.
So you'll create an 11 by 17 rectangle and then line it up perfectly to that artboard. And then what you can do is you can put it on its own layer in the layers panel and then lock it so that it doesn't move at all while you're working on your illustration and your poster design on top of it. And that'll keep it static, and so that every time you click, you're not accidentally selecting that background color. But yeah, that's the way you would do it.
And then the other thing was when you were showing us the stuff, you were like moving shapes behind each other really quickly. How do you do that?
So under the Illustrator menu at the top and then Object, the second item down is Arrange, and that is arranging what object is on top and how they're arranged. And there's key commands for that, and they will be listed next to the menu item in that Arrange menu. And eventually you'll just learn them and get good at them, and pretty soon you're just going to key command them. I believe you can also right click sometimes to send stuff to back. Sending stuff to back sends it all the way behind all of the objects that are on that layer. Sending it backwards just sends it back one step. So behind the next topmost object, then behind the next topmost object, then behind the next, one step at a time. And then the same with sending to front. It works the other way, front or, what does it say? Front or, let's see here, forward, front or forward, back or backward. So yeah, and then I think they might also have those in.
I don't have the option to send to back when I right click.
Okay, so it's just in the menu, or is there an arrange? When you right click, is arrange in that? because I get arrange in my little menu that pops up when I right click, and then
Wait.
a drop down.
Oh, there it is. I found it.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. I didn't see it.
Yeah. So all these nuances. There's so many things.
I've been like living in Illustrator. I've watched every tutorial on the Adobe website. I went to every Adobe Max session on Illustrator.
Yeah,
and I have been.
I know your brain is probably just mush with absorbing it all because there's so much to it, but you'll get it, and it just takes practice and being in it, and it's really fun, and the things that you can do are really fun. Your outcome is really cool. Ileana, what are you doing? And where are you?
I was wondering that too.
Sorry, I'm in my garage.
Uh-huh.
Making melty candles out of like pieces of pool noodle. And I'm just making like the wax out of hot glue, and I'm gonna paint them black. Sorry.
No, I was just curious. Okay, and Ileana, you had a question?
Yeah, are we gonna be doing a like a specific Zoom for like questions about the poster project coming up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure next week's that's what we're dedicated to. Let me look really quick.
Yeah, because I was like wondering, I don't even know what exactly we're supposed to be like. Okay, we're making a poster, but
yeah, so next
I'm not sure if we're supposed to be using like pictures or if we're supposed to draw something.
All vector, because we're doing Illustrator. Yeah, it's an Illustrator poster, so we are doing, it should be primarily vector artwork. This week you've got sketches due, and then that's it. So all you should be doing this week is working on your sketches and getting those dialed in as far as like what you want your design to look like and kind of what you're thinking. And then we have a check-in on Tuesday next week for purely 100%. The whole Zoom is going to be movie poster related, because next week you should be taking your sketches and drawing them in Illustrator, and that's when you'll be using like all these skills that you've been learning. You know, the Pathfinder and the pen tool and the pencil tool and the swatches. You'll be able to use all of those next week. So this week it's more practicing in Illustrator, more familiarizing yourself with the basics of Illustrator, but you're going to sketch out your idea. I would rather you don't use photos. I mean, it would be okay if there was a photo as maybe a very like secondary or tertiary kind of element to your design, but because we're in Illustrator, it should primarily be vector art.
For the sake of planning sketches, how like detailed do these need to be? Because I'm struggling to make even basic.
No, like the sketches should be just like what we did for the advertisement. I have the same little kind of thumbnail workup that and let me show you guys, and I'll probably show you guys this next week too, but I'll show you guys just since you're here and asking. I had a student in summer, my summer class, who did this project, who had the most amazing thumbnail sketches for all of his project submissions. And I will show you his Illustrator one. And not that it needs to be like this, but just so you can get an idea. And then I'll show everybody this next, well, it probably will be too late next week. Maybe I can just upload this to show you guys. Oh no, I might not have his sketches anymore. I only have his final. I wonder if I saved them. Let me look in my folder. Oh, a sec. But basically you're just giving yourself, you're doing it so that you can work out your ideas, and it's for your benefit, but it's also just so that I can see that you're taking the design workflow and you're practicing your design workflow. Let's see, project rubrics.
Also, can we like maybe switch a movie? I'm planning on watching a couple of movies this week, but I had one that I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this one, and I'm like, oh,
feel free to change it and post your selection. Christina, I'm going to email that student and see if I can get him to send me over his sketches, because I don't have it. When he uploaded his posters, it got rid of his sketches. No. And they were awesome. They were so cool. So I'll ask him to send them over to me to show you guys, but it's just sketches. It's for your benefit. It's part of your design workflow, and it's part of just getting in practice of the importance of kind of sketching out and thumbnailing through your ideas before you get into the software. So
yeah, my problem is I have a lot of complicated ideas, and then I go into Illustrator, and then I'm like,
right.
I made a circle.
Yeah, that's why sketch first, and kind of it'll help your mind to work through it, and it'll help your mind to be like, oh yeah, when I drew this, I did this first. That's what you're going to do first when you get into Illustrator too. So yeah, and it's all practice. You're just starting, so don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Okay.
So, all right, anyone else, or are we good to go for this week? Thank you guys.
I think I'm good.
All
You
right.
said tomorrow at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. I'll be in my office hours. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
You'll probably see me there.
Okay. You guys.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.